So we are coming to the last part of the story, Ivan's tries an O level. From the very beginning, we have seen that Evans he was kept in the maximum earlier in the maximum security cell, but there was some problem, so he was transferred to Oxford. And Evans had his own reputation that he had escaped from the jail three times, and that's why he was known as Evans the Break. And so now he was going to appear for German O-level examination, and governor had made taken all the precautions. But what happened? Eventually, Evans escaped. And then we see everyone. We also know that the person who came as McCleary was not the real McCleary, and he was the one who left. The one who stayed back as injured McCleary was no one but Evans himself. And so Evans, now at Chipping Norton, enjoying his freedom, he came back to the hotel where he was staying. He looked at the receptionist, the person, the girl who was there earlier had was not there. It was someone else. But then he did not bother about it. He just took his key because he knew that next day was going to be a busy day. So as he was walking up the stairs, everything, all the plan and everything was coming back to his mind. He liked that idea of being dressed up as a minister, dog collar and everything. He enjoyed that his friend had come dressed up as a priest. And there were certain things, certain problems which happened, but then they managed to just control everything. There was only one problem, and one problem was that Stephens, that evil eye, which is referred over here, it was Stephens who was looking into the cell after every minute or after every 2 minutes. Everything went well. The toughest part was changing the dress under the blanket. So if you remember, Evans asked for a blanket because he said that he felt cold, and he took up that blanket. Now what was that blanket for? The blanket was under the blanket. He was changing the dress. And you will be a little surprised that from where did the dress come? So dress came from his friend. He has wore everything too. Now, if you remember, when the McCleary who had come was going back, Stephens observed that he has suddenly grown thinner. So that was the reason, because he had passed on the extra clothing that he had brought with him to Evans, and earlier he was wearing everything too. So that's why at the end of the exam, when Stephens was escorting him to the gate, he looked thinner. And then everything went according to the plan. His friends had arranged for everything: soap, water, clothes, and the map. Yes, map was very important. The Oxford survey map of Oxford, the Ordnance survey map of Oxfordshire. He went in his bedroom, closed it quietly behind him, and then as he turned, he was shocked. Why shocked? Because sitting on the narrow bed was someone whom he had expected the last person in the world to be meeting with. He started looking here and there. The man sitting on the bed said, "It's not worth trying anything." And the man who was sitting over there was no one else but the governor himself. Evans was looking here and there to find some escape. But governor said that, "I have got men all around the place." In fact, there were only two, but it was only governor who knew about it. And then he made another revelation saying that women too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in the reception was rather sweet? Now Evans was completely shaken. He knew he was defeated. The only chair which was there, he sat on that, and for some time there was complete silence. Then he said, "Oh, I think it was that bloody correction slip. So you came to know from the correction slip." Governor, he tried to hide his satisfaction in his voice, saying that there are some people who know a little bit of German. Gradually, Evans relaxed. He knew that he was beaten, he was recaptured. And then he smiled, and then he told governor that it was not really a mistake. So what was the main problem? The main problem was that they had not been able to fix up any hotel. But that was not a big issue. The important thing was for the phone to ring just before the exam finished to get everyone out of the way for a couple of minutes. So they had to know exactly when the exam started. And that correction slip actually was had served two purposes. What was the first purpose? The first purpose was making the friends of Evans know exactly when the exam started. So 3-4 minutes before the exam, there could be a phone call, and so everyone would be removed from the cell. And second purpose of that correction slip was just giving the name of the hotel where Evans was going to hide after his escape. And governor said that, okay, like a fool, I presented this on a plate. So Evans said that if he would not have done, somebody else would have done. But that word was very common word, golden in loin. So he said that this is a very common word. So Evans said yes, otherwise he would not have been able to understand. And now it was turn of Evans to ask that there are 100 of golden lions. How did you make it out? How did you figure it out that this was the golden lion where he was? So governor said, same as you, Evans, index number 313, center number 271. Remember, when the exam was going on, the invigilator asked Evans to write certain things. That was center number and index number. Now this center number and index number, they were actually the coordinates of a map. You find that 6-figure reference 313/271 lands you bang in the middle of the Chipping Norton. So that was actually coordinate and that's why the map was very important for Evans, which his friends had arranged for him. And so because of those coordinates, he was able to find out exactly which place he had to go. And that was what governor had figured it out. Evans said, yes, you are right. He said that he had hoped everyone would be going to Newbury. So governor said, yes, we did go to Newbury and something like that. Then the governor said that, Evans, could you really understand what was that all written in the question paper? He said that he himself could not understand. Evans very honestly said, no, he could not. He said that he roughly had the idea. And actually, the entire question paper was just to confuse people, throw a few spanners in the works, means confuse people, to engage people in another direction or something like that. Now both of them stood up, they started walking. Governor said that, tell me one thing before we go. How on earth did you get all that blood to pour over your head? Oh, from where did you manage that blood? Ivan suddenly looked happy. He said, clever, wasn't it? To get some blood, even when the invigilator was also checked before he came into the room. He said that, I don't know whether I should tell you or not, maybe in future I will have to use that particular thing. So governor just said that, had it anything to do with that little rubber tube ring for the pies? Remember, Jackson, he found that semi-inflated rubber tube and he remarked to McCleary that was he planning to go for swimming. And so McCleary, he pointed out that he was suffering from hemorrhoid, that is piles. So governor pointed towards that particular rubber ring. Evans said, don't you think it was clever? He said, governor said it must have been really difficult job to put some blood into that. So Evans said, no, you are wrong. There was no problem. So getting the blood was not the problem, but the clotting, blood clots very fast. So that was the big trouble. He said that they got the blood easy, pig's blood. It was from slaughterhouse in Kidlington. But to stop it from clotting, there has to be something to be mixed with it. That is with 1/10 of its volume of 3.8% trisodium citrate. And then you look at governor saying that he had no idea about all this thing. Governor was admiring all this thing. There was a reluctance, but he was admiring. He said, we learn something new every day, they tell me. Come on, my lad. And then they started walking. Evans also showed no resistance. Side by side, two men walking down the stairs. So governor again put up the question that, Evans, how did you manage to plan all this business? You had no visitors. I have seen to that. You have had no letters. You were made completely incommunicado. There was no communication from anyone. So how were you able to manage all this plan? So Ivan said, I have got a lot of friends. So when Ivan said, I have got a lot of friends, governor was little alarmed. He felt that it was there someone in the prison itself who was involved with Ivan. So he said, what's that supposed to mean? So Ivan said, my German teacher for a start. Let us start from my German teacher. You mean, but he was from the technical college? Was he? Ivan was almost enjoying it all. Ever check upon him, sir? Did you ever check that whether he was really a teacher from technical college or something like that? God Almighty, there's far more going on than I. Always will be, sir. Now they were outside. Everything ready? Asked the governor as they stood by the reception desk. The van is out the front, sir, said the pretty blonde receptionist. Ivan winked at her and she winked back at him. It almost made his day. A silent prison officer handcuffed the recaptured Ivan, and together the two men clambered awkwardly into the back seat of the prison van. Okay, so now that there was prison van was ready, the silent prison officer, he came down, handcuffed, recaptured Evans, and both of them sat down in the back seat of the prison van. So governor said, see you soon, Evans. It seemed as if governor was giving a farewell to an old friend after a cocktail party, as if he was the party was over and he had come outdoors to escort him and say goodbye to him. Ivan said, cheerio, sir, no problem. Sometime it happens. Then he said, I know your German is pretty good, sir, but do you know any more of this modern language? I know your German is quite okay, but what about other European languages? Do you have any idea about it? Governor said, not much, but why? But why? Why are you asking this question? So, this Ivan just settled himself comfortably on the back seat and grinned happily. Nothing really. I just happened to notice that you have got some O-level Italian classes coming up next September, that's all. So maybe this time I failed with German, so next time some O-level Italian courses are coming up, I would take for that and maybe I will be successful. Then governor said, perhaps you won't be with us next September, Evans. Now why did governor say this? Because Evans was temporarily shifted to Oxford prison. And once the things would settle down in the maximum security cell up north, Evans would be shifted back. Evans would be sent back to that particular prison again. So that is the reason governor said that most probably till next September he won't be here. James Roderick Evans appeared to ponder the governor's words deeply. No, perhaps I won't. Perhaps I won't be that long with all of you. As the prison van turned right from Chipping Norton onto the Oxford Road, the hitherto silent prison officer unlocked the handcuffs and leaned forward towards the driver. For Christ's sake, get a move on. It won't take them long to find out. Now, as the van turned from Chipping Norton to the Oxford Road, the prison officer, who was completely silent till now, he suddenly took out the key, unlocked the handcuffs, and said to the driver to drive fast. He's saying that people will come to know it very fast. So now you must have got the idea that this prison officer and this prison van, that was also, the people were of Ivan's accomplices. So what do you suggest we make for? Asked the driver in a broad Scot accent. I hope this broad Scot accent reminds you of something. If you remember well, the man who came as McLeary had the same broad Scot accent. And that same man was now sitting in the driver's seat. And so he asked, where do you suggest this time? So Ivan says, what about Newbury? Let us go to Newbury. Last time they searched Newbury, so they won't search Newbury this time. So in this way, Evans had the last laugh. Evans finally made an escape. Now there were certain things that we have to keep in mind. First of all, the character of Evans, that is very, very important. The plan that he prepared. Then the mistakes done by the prison authority which helped Evans to escape. Now if you look at the whole thing, most of the time it was the mistake done by the prison authorities. Jackson should have insisted Evans to take off the hat. The German teacher's identity should have been checked. And when everyone was completely in the chaotic situation, they did not check who was the injured person. And later on, when the superintendent of police, he left the injured so-called McCleary and called for the ambulance and did not wait for it. He should have waited over there. And lastly, when Evans was recaptured, Governor, knowing that Evans was such a smart fellow, he should have remained there. He should have taken Evans with him rather than sending him with the prison van officers even without checking their credentials. So these were the various mistakes and errors and goof-ups which were committed by the prison authorities, which actually helped Evans to escape. So that was all about this chapter, Evans tries an O-level.